Welcome back to Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. This is Comicstorian and I'm your narrator, Benny. The storyline of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy is a 6-issue miniseries that came out after the Heroes in Crisis series. In Heroes in Crisis, Poison Ivy died, and after being revived, Harley Quinn and her decided to have a little alone time while Poison Ivy was healing from her death. But while she was healing, they discovered that they were being chased by a man named the Floronic Man, another plant-based villain who wants to absorb Poison Ivy to become closer to the green. We've already done issues 1 through 4. Today we're going to bring you 5 and 6 and wrap up this series and the final battle between Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and the Floronic Man. If you enjoyed this, please hit like on our video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. So Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy travel. They fought the Floronic Man's creatures across America, and finally they heard on the news that Manhattan had been taken over by giant, monstrous plants. It's looking like we finally found the Floronic Man. Unless there's another plant-based baddie that we need to bust, Harley tells Ivy, as they watch the news from their hotel room bed. Ivy nods, believing that their enemy wanted them to know that he was there. But Harley just nods, leaning back. If we reach the city tomorrow, can we hit Central Park at night when the plants don't have the sun to back them up? That's not how plants work, Harley, but nighttime it is, Ivy nods. The guards patrol the Manhattan Bridge, but 2 smoke bombs suddenly land at their feet, and the men fall as Harley and Ivy dash through the smoke. "Sorry, I learned it from watching Batman!" Harley shouts as they run, and they move throughout the city streets, with Harley questioning why Floronic Men would even target New York City. "It's where you're from," Ivy tells her. Ivy knows that it's not a coincidence that they're in New York. "He's trying to push our buttons." Harley nods, holding up her fist. "Well, we'll just have to punch his buttons, mostly the ones in his face," she says as they continue their dash across the bridge. The two finally come to a bushy barrier, and Ivy tries to get the vines to move, but she doesn't seem to control them. So the two have no choice. They run forward, with Harley smashing the plants with her hammer and Ivy cutting through them with her new plant blades. As they suddenly stop, they turn to the bright headlights that is speeding right towards them. And Batwoman leaps forward on her bike, jumping off at the last minute, launching forward, with Harley diving out of the way as the bike skids past her and Batwoman collides into Poison Ivy. "You're done, Isley," Batwoman hisses, pinning the woman to the ground. "You're an idiot," Ivy tells her as the vine knocks our hero aside. "You picked a very bad day to start a fight with me, Batwoman," Ivy snarls, creating another arm blade. But Harley steps between the two of them, stopping their fight. Batwoman seems confused, but Harley quickly tries to explain. "I guess you haven't heard that Ivy and I are genuine card-carrying superheroes now, which means we've been dealing with our own supervillain vexations," she tells her, and Harley smiles as Ivy facepalms. "We don't actually have cards yet. We've been a bit busy. So I guess that you're just gonna have to take our word for it? Are there actually cards though? Like, is there like a superhero union or something like that? Health insurance would be really helpful if we're not robbing banks anymore." Finally, Batwoman stops her. "So you're saying you're not the ones who took over Manhattan with a plant army?" she asks and crosses her arm, asking if the two have any proof of this. "You're supposed to be some sort of detective. Isn't looking for proof your job?" Ivy asks her. Batwoman finally nods, leading them into the city to find the proof that it wasn't Ivy. "I'll be watching you," she tells them, and quietly they make their way through the city, led by Batwoman's heat tracker. Harley comes up behind her, smiling. "So you've been doing this hero thing for like a while, yeah? You got any pointers?" she asks. "She's been doing this for a while," Ivy sighs, and as they stop, Ivy senses something. She throws the other two women to the ground as a vine cracks over their heads. "Hey, we're trying to have an important philosophical discussion over here," Harley yells at the Floronic Man's creatures that have rose up against them. Ivy reaches out, thinking that she can stop one, but not all three. "Understood," Batwoman nods, throwing her batarangs. As Batwoman and Harley start attacking the other two, Ivy starts getting through them one at a time. "Listen to me. He's not here. I am. Listen to me," she tries to tell the creatures. And the creature finally starts to turn on its brethren, saving Harley from being squashed. With the battle won, the three of them keep moving. "Not bad, Isley," Batwoman says over her shoulder. And later they stop as the hero consults her tracker. "Someone, please help us," a weak voice calls out. "Yeah, that totally sounds like a trap," Harley Quinn whispers. But Batwoman looks over her shoulder. "Could be, but I don't really get to choose. You want to be a hero? Sometimes it means you jump on that grenade." The three move in, finding a group of people trapped by vines. Batwoman turns to Ivy, questioning whether she can help free them. "Fine, but not because you asked, but because Harley did long before you came along," she tells her. Quickly, the hostages are freed, and as Batwoman motions them to safety, Batwoman turns on the others. "I need to get these people to safety, but if I do, that leaves you to track Woodrow down." Not a problem, Ivy tells her, arms crossed. That was the plan before you got in our way anyway, Harley nods. Batwoman nods, handing them the tracker. If you're walking the path that you say you are, good luck. It's rarely an easy one. I'll send you a brochure about the Union. Good luck. A bat with a sense of humor. Who'd have thunk it? Harley notes as Pamela pulls her along. The two move through the city and they finally start arriving at an overgrown area. We gotta be getting close, Harley notes, and suddenly Ivy stops, shocked. She senses something and she begins to run off. Harley gives chase, following her into a large cathedral-like room, and before them sits a giant flower, its petals still folded together. We need to leave now, Ivy warns Harley as they come into the room. What the heck are you talking about? I'm not leaving, Harley yells. No, you're not. A voice calls as the flower begins to bloom, and as the petals unfold, it reveals another poison ivy clad in a flowing gown. You're not leaving. Not now. Not ever. You see, it was several weeks ago when Ivy curled up in their old home. The gift that Luther had given her wrapped around her body, almost cocooning her in the green. Multiple cocoons spread outward, taking up the room, and later as the pod split, purple light flooded outward, and Ivy stood stretching her renewed limbs. That's so much better, she begins to sigh, and as she turns back, she sees the other pods around her. She bends over, staring at different versions of herself, when suddenly the house shakes with the sound of an explosion. She's launched outside where she sees Harley escaping in their van. Harley? Ivy whispers as the tears begin to fall from her eyes. In the present, the renewed Poison Ivy stares in anger at Harley and her strange clone. You abandoned me! You left me to burn! But Harley doesn't understand, trying to figure out why there are two Poison Ivies! What the freaking heck is going on? She yells. Harley's Ivy crosses the room, taking her in her arms. I didn't realize, not until we got here, that I'm not her, the clone explains, and Poison Ivy nods, vines growing out of her limbs. She is a fragment of a larger whole, a cutting, if you will. Part of the overgrowth that Lex Luthor caused with his little gift. The only part of me that survived the fire that you started, Harleen. Harley steps forward as the vines begin to wrap around her clone version of Ivy. But I didn't! I was trying to save you, she explains. And yet another failure of yours on a long list, Poison Ivy snarls. Ivy realizes that it was the real version of Poison Ivy that was following them, not the Floronic man. Harley steps forward. Why would you hunt us like that? Try to hurt us? Why wouldn't you just tell us what happened? Poison Ivy points a finger at her, accusing her. Because you were supposed to figure it out, Harleen! You were supposed to know that something was wrong, that wasn't me! But you were too busy telling yourself that you were a hero, dragging my shadow into your make-believe. Poison Ivy continues to yell, questioning why Harley would ever believe that the real her would want to be a hero, like the ones that always hurt them, that killed her. Tears begin to fall from Harley's eyes as she puts up her hands. It wasn't like that, I swear I love you, she tells her, and Harley falls to her knees as Poison Ivy tells her, you clearly didn't love me enough. You never really understood. You were the only one who gave me a hope for humanity. You were the reason I gave them a chance. Tears begin to form in Poison Ivy's eyes. You were the best that humanity had to offer this world. And if you're the best that humanity has to offer this world, then maybe humanity has no place in this world. The Ivy clone steps forward, yelling for Poison Ivy to leave Harley alone. You want to blame someone for this? Blame me. And the two women lock into battle, using their sharpened thorns. Poison Ivy waves her hand, calling forth plant creatures from the ground to surround Harley. There's gotta be a way to talk out of this, Harley whispers as she pulls out her bat, but the wood springs to life and Harley drops it, yelling, "Not fair!" As the two Ivies continue to fight, Harley's Ivy looks up. She sees that Harley is about to be overwhelmed, so she places her hand on the ground, controlling every creature, stomping them. You think it'll be that easy into my domain? Poison Ivy yells, and the creatures burst, with the vines wrapping around both Harley and Clone Ivy, pulling them into the air. I told you that there was no escape, Poison Ivy tells them, holding them aloft. But Ivy spits at her, telling her, I know what Poison Ivy saw when she hunted us. The life that you came back from the dead for, the life that would have been yours. I would think that jealousy would be beneath you. Poison Ivy yells in anger, throwing the two women away, and Ivy reaches out, taking Harley's hand and pulling them through the leafy walls. They land hard on the ground outside, but Harley is up quickly, trying to pull Clone Ivy with her so that they can run. I can't, Harley. I can't go with you, Clone Ivy tells her. She's hurting, And all she knows to do with that pain is spread it. Part of me. I understand it. Of course I do. I'm just her, without the loneliness. Both Harley and Clone Ivy begin to cry, and Harley tells her that she was just trying to help. You did, Harley. This isn't your fault. Whatever she says, she isn't whole. Not yet, but she will be. Clone Ivy pulls Harley in close, kissing her on the forehead, and she pulls away, dashing back into Poison Ivy's lair, yelling for Harley Quinn to run. Harley runs back into the city, and behind her, the two Ivies lock together, trading blows, and in the end, vines wrap around them both, and they're pulled together, merging until only one Ivy remains. Harley finally reaches the edge of the city as the sun peeks over the rooftops, and then she drives down the highway, looking at the passenger seat, almost like she can see her Ivy with her. And that concludes Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. A sad story with a twist of an ending. I wasn't expecting it, I'll tell you that right now. I thought it was just going to kind of end in a, ooh, it's kooky, it's funny. No, Harley's sad and Poison Ivy is upset. Where's this going to go next? Well, if you subscribe to our channel, you'll find out as I eventually cover it. And you can also give this video a like. Let me know, hey, I like this story with Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. I want more of this, Benny. Let me know in your comments down below what else you guys want on this channel. I'll see you guys next time right here.